Now, I wanted to welcome you here tonight. It's making me feel a little bit less new. I've been able to get by for the last year and a half being new, but this group here started with me in Year 7. And we are now talking about what we call in school speak Stage 5. And that means we're getting towards the pointy end. So we're talking now about I've got to get my maths right, but we're 4 years of school to go after this. Stage 5. And suddenly, there's some choice. Now, there's some very good news for some of you, because there are things that do not change for the students. What won't change in the school is in years 9 and 10, our classes are going to be boys' classes and girls' classes, based on the same campuses that you're on. Your mentor groups will be similar. Your houses will be similar. Those things don't change at all. But as we get into Stage 5, there are some things that do change. You have completed at the end of this year your music requirement. You don't have to do music, it's compulsory. You have to do so many hours of music through school. That's finished. Some of the boys will be pleased to hear this. You don't have to do any more dance this year, unless you want to do as an elective. And that has been a moot point, so I hear. The compulsory technology is completed and the languages are completed. What again stays the same, that you still have to do English, maths and science, and that's a good thing. You still have to do PDHPE, there's still the history, geography and the Christian studies. But the really good news for all of you is that you can start to make some choices. And that will be explained a little bit more fairly shortly by Lisa. Some of you don't know Lisa. Lisa Hunt is our Director of Studies. Over here we've got Rob Marchetto, who's our Director of Quality Teaching and Learning. And there's some other staff here as well that'll be very happy to talk to you. But the great thing is now, at this point, students, and I'm talking to you first, you can start to look at some interests. You can start to have some choices. Now, a little tip I want to give you though, the choices you make at the end of Year 8 will not determine the rest of your life. So you can actually have a look at what you might be interested in. There are no subjects in Year 11 and 12 outside the core that have a mandatory, you must do them in Year 9 and 10, so they stand by themselves. So if you want to do, for instance, economics in Year 11 and 12, you don't necessarily have to do commerce. You don't have to do, it's probably wise if you want to do PDHPE in Year 11 and 12, it's probably quite smart to do it in Years 9 and 10, but you don't have to. So there's nothing mandatory outside those subjects. So you've got a chance to have a little bit of a taste and try something. I said this to the Year 10s who are looking at 11. Please, though, think carefully at what you will be interested in. Look at what will help you. Because in school, often it's what we enjoy and what we're good at. And it's a chance to find out if you're good. There's a couple of different things that you'll be able to have a look at. Give things a go. Have a taste. And that's what I would recommend you do. Get a taste of some different things. Get a feel for that subject. I'll give you another hint. The teachers here and all the subjects are very, very good. They love their subjects. I teach English. If you came up and if it wasn't compulsory, I'd say you've got to do it because it's the best subject. But you're going to be told that something like 15 or 16 subjects are the best subject. I know Mrs. Burke will say do history and Mrs. Drape will say do commerce. Mr. Doran would say do maths. So you need to think it through. Please don't just base it on what your friends are doing. And talk about it. Talk to the teachers, talk to your parents. That's very, very important. Parents are part of this too. But know that you have a fresh choice at the end of Year 10 to open out to what you want to do. So welcome here tonight. You'll get some information, but part of the night is to ask questions, to think about those sorts of things. And the other part is please listen carefully to how you choose, because it has changed. So without any further ado, I will hand over to Mrs. Hunt, who is our Director of Studies.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Most of you would have received one of these Stage 5 subject selections booklets via email. If you didn't get one, if you could let us know, because some people have filters on their emails and they don't actually get through. So I have got some spare copies. But basically, I'm not going to go through it all because it'll take an enormous amount of time, and the main crux of tonight is for you to go and speak to the teachers and heads of departments to find out all the questions that you need to know about their particular subjects. But basically, it goes through here telling you all the different subjects and whether you can do them as a 2-year course or a 1-year course. So here in Year 9 and 10, we can do two different ways of doing the electives. You can choose German and music to do in both Year 9 and then Year 10, or you can choose another option of food technology for Year 9 and 10, and then in Year 9 just history, and then commerce. So there's different ways that you can do it. Another option would be to do 4 different subjects in the 2 years. The courses which run are dependent on student choice. So basically we decide, depending on what the students' preferences are, how many we get to run each course. That will determine what we end up doing. It's not preset, and the lines are determined by the students. So obviously the more we have, the more preferences we have for particular subjects, those subjects will be offered. Slow this thing. Doesn't seem to be working this too much, you know? Has it got a flat battery? Okay, so initially students initially choose 7 days ahead, which is when we're starting to look at them now. The heads of department will decide how many courses will run and how many classes will be for each course. The line's formulated to suit as many as possible, so we try to cater for everybody's preferences, but obviously sometimes it doesn't work according to the lines. The forms with subjects and lines given to the students approximately 10 days later, the final choices are due. So your vote could be the difference between a class running and a class not running, so it's very important that you think long and hard about what course you're doing and whether it's something that you really want to do. It's not just about whether your friends are doing that course, that elective. You really need to think about what you're good at, what your interests are, and then make sure you put in the correct preferences. If you do not think carefully, you may disadvantage yourself because you may be stuck in an elective that you don't particularly like. So it is difficult to change once you've made your decision after the lines are all set. The way we're doing it this year, we're doing the web preferences online, and it's very difficult to alter your choices after they've gone online. You can alter it in the first week or so of the year, but then after that, it's very difficult to change. And then also the other thing is when you decide that you might like to change, the classes that you want to change into might be full. So very important to think about very carefully what your first preferences are. So be broad in your choices while you still can. Okay, now this is the most important part. This is how to enter your courses online. So you should have got via email a piece of paper that says your student name and student password. And you need that information to put into the web preferences, which is this page here. So the student access code with the password. Again, if you didn't receive that via email, you need to let us know because it's integral to actually getting your subject preferences in.
Can I just say, check your spam filter. I checked mine today and the notice that I sent out to the whole school community yesterday was in my filter, so my own message got caught. So.
Yes, I think that's happening a little bit, Mr. Smith. So it's really very simple. It looks complicated, but it's really simple and it doesn't take very long at all. You go into View Subject Details, you click on that there, and that'll tell you all the available subjects that we have here at Cal Rossi, which are all in this booklet that you would have got via email. Then you go and you put Add New Preferences. Okay, so you put in your preferred electives for 2019. You enter your first 2 desired electives in the first 2 lines, and then the next 2 lines after that. What are you doing, Mr. Machero?
I'm having some fun.
So then you end up with 4.
So you rank them.
So preference 1, 2, 3 and 4. So your first two preferences in the first two lines, so they're your main preferences, and then your next two choices. So everybody gets a little bit of leeway. Okay, so then you put submit valid preferences. So first of all, we'll just go up here. It says that the unit value is 4 units. You need to make sure you've got 4 units. That's the 4 electives, preferences. Then you submit the valid preferences. Okay, then you can print this receipt, which you should keep for your own record as well. And that says your name, the preference list, what 4 preferences that you've put in, and then it has to be handed in to Student Services by next Friday, Mr. Doran, isn't it? This Friday. Okay. So two days you've got to get online and do that. So you keep the hard copy of the receipt, sign it. Your parents need to sign it as well, and then it has to go to Student Services. But keep your hard copy so that we can all see exactly what you've put in for your preferences. So rather than waste any more time, all of these staff are in the library and they're all set up in stations, and they can tell you all the information around their particular subject. And if you've got any questions, they're the people to go to. They can tell you all about it, and then go back to this booklet, have a good look at that, talk at home about it, and then come in and you can do your preferences at home. Okay? So if everybody would like to move to the library.
If you want to do it today,